Well, I'll keep it very brief because I want to make as much room for the guest speaker as possible. But before we start, and before I introduce Mr. Kader Abdolah very briefly, I'll have to thank a couple of people, or sponsors, let's say the sponsors who sponsored the whole Dutch Week. As you probably know, this is the last night of Dutch Week, and I think it was rather successful, right? But I have to thank first Germanic Studies, especially Jill, being our help through the whole week, always there and very, very helpful. So we have to thank Germanic Studies and especially Jill. Of course, we have to thank West European Studies also for the sponsorship, and maybe the biggest sponsor of all, the Dutch Language Union, who took care of the whole trip of Mr. Abdolah. And if they wouldn't have sponsored his visit to the US, we might be not so lucky to see him tonight. So, taking care of the essential business, right? So, and tonight's speaker is a household name in Dutch literature already. Everybody knows his name when you read anything in literature in the Netherlands. He came to the Netherlands. He's an Iranian or Persian-Dutch writer. He came to the Netherlands in 1988, and he got his debut published in Dutch in 1993, so very soon after, and already that received the prize. And since that, that's the start of a very wonderful and successful career in Dutch literature until the very day. And his work has been translated in many languages, over 25, I believe. So please read the books of Mr. Kader Abdolah, and he will talk about his life, his works, and after that he has a lot of room for questions. He loves to answer questions. So please welcome Mr. Kader Abdolah.
Good evening. Hello. Hello and salam. I see a couple of Persian people. Welcome. And Dutch people. Welcome, students. I've talked about my experience, my writing experience in my life, and I've talked with the students, and the rest of the audience is welcome. But it was, it happened like this. It happened like this. I didn't want to leave my country. I didn't want to leave my homeland. But it just happened. Actually, I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my language because I had two dreams. My first dream was I wanted to be a writer, a big, well-known writer in my own language, in Persian literature. Why did I want to be a great Persian writer? Yeah, maybe because my over-grandfather was a well-known poet in my country. He was able to magic with his pen. That is what the king said about him. My second dream, I wanted to be a president of my own country, a beloved one. It just happened to me. I had no control on it. Maybe because my over-grandfather was a grand president of our country. A beloved president with a magic pen. So, I had dreams, and I could realize my dreams only in the Persian language. For that reason, I was not allowed to leave my language. There was another reason that I was not allowed to leave my country. My dad, my father, was deaf and dumb, mute. He was not able to talk, to hear, to write, and to read. My father had a dream. He wanted to have a boy with 2 strong ears, a boy, a word maker, a boy with a pen, and he got me. I was the dream of my father. Therefore, I had to stay beside him. He needed me as an interpreter. I interpreted the big word to him, and I interpreted him to the big word. So, I was not allowed to leave my language. And I was not allowed to let my father down. But I did. I let my own dreams down. I let my dad down, and I escaped my country. I escaped out of the country, and I could reach Turkey. When I went inside Istanbul, I couldn't believe my eyes. There were more than 1 million Iranian people who lived just on the streets. They had escaped the country and came to Turkey, and Istanbul couldn't catch them or place them. It was a crazy situation. The most of the people had come in Turkey in an illegal way, and they had no passport, and the police arrested them to send them back. Everybody was looking for somebody to smuggle him or her out of the country. You could trust nobody. You could trust nobody, but you have to trust everybody. Otherwise, you got arrested by the badly corrupt and dangerous Turkish police. Everybody was looking for smugglers to help you to leave Turkey illegally. And that time, if you paid $10,000, they sent you to New York in 1 week. If you paid $7,000, they put you in 3 days in Paris. If you paid $6,000, you were in 3 days in London. $5,000 to go to Berlin. $4,000 for Stockholm. And $3,000 to Copenhagen. But if you didn't have any money, they sent you to the Netherlands. One and a half years later, I was standing in the rain, in the cold, and in the wind. Where? In Amsterdam. What does a young Persian writer do when he is suddenly standing in Amsterdam in the rain? I did what every tourist would do or should do. I made a walk through the famous tourist streets, and I watched through the windows where the women were standing in red lights. What does a Persian writer see during his first walk in Amsterdam? A Persian carpet shop. I went inside and I said, "Salam alaikum." "Salam alaikum," the man said. "What brought you here?" he asked. "The wind. The wind has brought me here," I answered. "And what do you want to do in this country?" the man said. "When I was walking during those red windows, I had made a decision for myself, a sweet one. I had decided to write in Dutch, to be a Dutch Persian writer. I am going to write in Dutch. I want to be a Dutch writer," I said to the carpet seller as a silly boy who knew nothing of the war. Till 1 hour ago, I didn't know where the Netherlands was. And I still didn't know even one Dutch word. The carpet seller told me in an ironic tone, "Your dream is very big, but the Netherlands is very small country. Your big dream doesn't fit in this small country. Leave this kingdom before it gets too late." My story is too big. I cut it to make it smaller. I listened to the carpet seller. After a couple of months, I bought a fake passport, and I let myself get smuggled. But where to go? To America, of course. And I got arrested in Amsterdam airport. I bought another fake passport, and I let myself get smuggled of that country. But where to go? To America, of course. But they arrested me again in Amsterdam airport. I bought for the third time a fake passport, and I let myself get smuggled. But where did I want to go? To New York, of course. And I flew. And I flew over the ocean. And I landed in New York. And I walked with my fake passport in my hand to the American passport control. The man looked at my passport. The man looked in my eyes. He looked at the passport. He looked at me, at the passport, at me, and I got arrested. They put my head in the American computer, and they sent me back to the Netherlands. Once back at Amsterdam airport, I remember an old Persian saying, "If you had flown till 3 times, but it hasn't worked, change your writing language." It was no old Persian saying. I had made it by myself. I started to write my first Dutch book in the language of my dad, a deaf, dumb language, but simple, strong, poetic language. And I began a new life as a writer. And after many years, it was the first time that I had left my homeland to live with other different people, with a different literature. And after many years of a very busy life, a life full of danger, I was now safe. I could sleep in peace and silence. Yes, silence. Now, when I was standing behind the window, I only saw cows and green farms and horses and tractors and canals and rain and fog and a small church at the end of those things behind the trees. In my homeland, I couldn't sleep because of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards. I was always afraid they would arrest me while I was sleeping. But now, in the Netherlands, I couldn't sleep because of the nightmares. Every night, the snakes came to my bedroom. They crept in my bed, and they crept under my blanket, and they crept over my legs, and I woke up shocked. I was a good man, a good father, a good writer, a good rebel. I wanted to be a great Persian writer, but at first, the Netherlands were changing me into a bad man. I became aggressive. I didn't trust my hands anymore. I was afraid of my hands. I was somebody, but now nobody. I couldn't write anymore. And I wrote, and if I wrote, I had no audience, no reader. I wrote in my own language, but I felt sick. I felt like I was a dying writer. Suddenly, I began to write in Dutch, only to can breathe, only to be able to continue the life, my life. Now, after 20 years, I am standing here. I didn't know Exile. I knew it only through the books, but now I know it. I have lived with it. I have slept in it. I have dreamed in it. And I had written 14 books in it. Exile for a writer is painful, is desire for home. Exile is only writing and unlimited writing, but it is great. I wish it for every writer. You get a new possibility to make yourself. This Kader Abdolah now is not the Kader Abdolah who escaped his country 20 years ago. Exile has completely shaped a new writer. My past, our home, those are the things that I miss them, the things which I have made, the things which have made me. They are together the great part of my life, and a great bottomless mine of literature material for my books. Without them, I am not myself. That house, that mosque, the grand past, the grand mosque, the cats, the birds, the trees, the women, the beds, the fishes, the air, and the sky of my life in my homeland are the house, the mosque, the grand past, the grandmas, the cats, the birds, the trees, the women, the beds, the fishes, the air, and the sky that I use, that I put in my Dutch literature. Writing in another language is difficult. How can I put it? You can compare it to with plugging the ground of your mind to plant a new product. If you write in another language, you produce a new kind of literature. It is fresh, it is vital, it is full of life. I am a lucky writer. I am a lucky writer that I am coming from an old traditional family with old books and old stories. A family with a great religious background and with the grandmothers who whispered the magic verses in the dark of the rooms. I put those magic things in my Dutch books. It is my secret power. No native or original Dutch writer can have such great, mysterious memories that I have. You create a new you, a new writer, a more interesting one when you change your writing language. You make yourself with your own hands, and it is great, and it is wonderful. I thank you. Okay. If you have a question, I do my best to find an answer.
Well, now that you speak some English, will you write in English in addition to Dutch, in addition to Persian?
When I write in English, in addition Dutch, writing in another language, I will tell you, now after 20 years, I have done, I am not able anymore to write in my own language, Persian language. I can write a book of 700 pages in Persian, in my own language, but I can't put my soul in it. I can make bottles, but empty bottles. I can put my soul in it, but I can do it only in the Dutch language. I'm not happy about that. Sometimes I have to apologize my family, my language, but at the same time, it is a great opportunity to show, to put the old Persian, great old Persian stories, pain of my family, pain of my country, beside the luck, beside the beautiful side of Dutch life. It is in my books at the same time are Dutch literature and Persian literature in exile. But writing in English, I do it as a tourist. I'm a tourist in language. When I came to the Netherlands, I decided to, I made a bad, hard decision. I decided to speak no word English when I am in the Netherlands, because the Dutch language is a difficult language. Dutch language is a beautiful language, but you have to give as a writer, you have to give yourself completely. Otherwise, no. English, my English is the English of a tourist.
How did you learn Dutch?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. Madam, it's not, nobody is able to teach themselves or to the Dutch. But no, I am now. Everybody says that I am now one of the most important Persian-Dutch writers. Is okay, but I'm happy. But nobody in my age. If you, as a child, this is a different, but as an adult, nobody is able to teach the Dutch language to learn Dutch completely. It's not possible. But it is a great opportunity if you can't write completely in Dutch. Because of that, you are always busy to make and to express yourself. And because of this struggling, you make a new kind of bruise. When my first Dutch book was published, I was not able to talk easily. But everybody said, wow, what a great book. But not because of my story, but because of the language. I had made a new kind of prose, Dutch prose. You know, because Dutch is very safe country, you know. And they are always raining, and the language is wet, you know, and nobody has ever been interested in that language. In American language, in English, everybody came inside and everybody write in English, huh? But in that country, nobody wanted to, because and they have no experience. Only it is a white, wet, and a little bit cloudy language, you know, and suddenly I came. I with the big old magic Persian literature, you know, with the language of 1,001 Nights, and I took the Dutch words, and I didn't know, but I made my own language. Okay.
You seem very comfortable with calling yourself a Persian-Dutch writer, right?
Yeah.
But many Dutch immigrant writers don't like that double term. They don't like to be identified as a Dutch writer of a specific origin, like Habib always complains and says, no, I'm not Moroccan, I'm Dutch, yet he immigrated from Morocco and, you know, he writes about Morocco. Why do you identify entirely with the term Persian Dutch? Do you feel
I do
you as a person as such? And how come other
I do it on purpose. Yes. The Dutch. This is a good question. We have a group of young writers with the Islamic background, the sons of the guest arbeiders. Guest arbeiders, yeah. Gast arbeiders. And okay, the son of the daughters of they are great writers, but they have other problem with their identity. Who am I? Am I a Dutch writer? I'm a Dutch man, a Dutch woman, or am I a Dutch Moroccan writer, a Dutch Turkey writer? Who am I? Because they are young, you know, and they came there as a little boy, as a little girl, and they have always looked to the Dutch people. Oh, because Dutch people are very tall, you know, close people, you know. But I came, when I came inside the country, I was 33 years old, you know, and I knew completely who I am and who I was, and have done a lot in my own past life in my country. And because of that, I had never had a crisis in my identity, you know. I know who am I, and it is deadly, it is dangerous, it is a big it would never be good for me if I said I am a Dutch writer. No, I will not. My family will shame themselves if I said no, I'm a Dutch writer. Sure, I'm a Persian Dutch writer, because Many friends of comrades of mine, they are executed in Iran. And how can I say I'm a Dutch writer? I will not be. I am more. I'm more. Because I was a Persian writer, and I have put a Dutch writer on it. It is better for the Netherlands. To say. And it is my trick too. I can say. My trick, huh? This is my trick too. But if you say Netherlands, if you say I am a Dutch, everyone say no, you are not. But if you say I am not, oh, you are. No, I'm not. I'm myself. I'm Kader Abdolah. But I'm happy. I'm proud with my Dutch, with the Dutch part of my identity. That's right.
Why did you pick the name Kader Abdolah, which is obviously Muslim but not typically Persian? And I'm partly curious because my name is Abdul Kader.
What was the question?
Why Kader Abdolah? Why Kader Abdolah? Kader Abdolah is my pen name, you know. This is nice and painful question for me. I told you I had a dream to be a writer, and I wanted to be a big Persian writer. But because I had a problem, my name, my family name was Bezet. Was used by my over-grandfather. My over-grandfather was a big poet, and our name, he has put on the jacket of his books. You know, if I became a great writer, everybody said he's the son of that. But I was not on my way. And I was looking for a pen name. Okay? But not only that, my first book, my debut, my Persian debut, I had written a book about Kurdistan in Iran, Kurdistan. And it was, at that time, it was an illegal book. It was forbidden. I was not allowed to publish it. And I was looking everywhere for a publisher, but I couldn't find it because nobody dared to publish my book. And I went by a big publishing house in Tehran, and I showed my manuscript. Yeah, the man said, "It is great, I love it, but I will not publish it." Okay. I went outside. I was standing on the pavement, and I didn't know what could I do with my manuscript. But at that time came the servant of the publishing house, and he said, "I will publish your book." But illegally. Clandestine, huh? Clandestine? Yeah. Clandestine. And I said, "It's okay." But he said, "I can give you any money." I said, "No problem." And he said, "And if I publish your book, you don't know me, I don't know you." He said, "It's okay." And he said, "But I need a name, a pen name too." And suddenly, I said, Kader and Abdolah. Kader was a friend of mine. Abdullah was a friend of mine, two Kurdish young students, and they got executed. At that time, the regime had executed them, and I put their name beside together, Kader and Abdullah. And since that time, I'm Kader. A great name, a beautiful part of my past.
Are you Kurdish?
No,
No.
I'm not. But my first book, my debut, I have written about the Kurdish. It was a war between the Ayatollahs and the Kurdish, Iranian Kurdish in Kurdistan. I went there as a journalist and wrote the book. Okay.
So the current public opinion about Iran is not very good. Do you, as a person, like driver, do you feel inclined to show people that Iran has a good history?
What was the question?
Iran is a bad guys there, bad people, and bad country. Can you show sometimes the beauty of the country? I'm not busy to show the beauty of the country. I'm a novelist. I write my books. But in my books, you can see, you can taste, you can touch that this great, beautiful, mysterious country. And at the same time, I am a columnist in one of the biggest Dutch newspaper, and I write a weekly column. And in my weekly columns, not every week, but I write, maybe one time, many times about Iran, about the politics situation, and that, and that over the beauty, and about the beauty of the country too.
What is your next book that you're working on? Do you have a new book that you're working on?
If I am writing a new book, it is sure. I'm writing at the same time with two books, but it happened to me. This is my life. I was writing. I was busy with a big novel. This is an important novel, maybe my best ever book till now. It is, but before I explain that, I have to say as a Kader Abdolah, now Dutch Persian writer, I write the books. I write totally different books. If I hadn't escaped the country, I had written another books. But now, as a Dutch writer, as a Persian-Dutch writer, I write totally different books than I could write in my home country. Okay, and my books are a little bit, how can I say, the genre of my books are East-West themes. East-West themes. I'm writing a book about between 1830 till 1890, the period of industrial revolution in Europe. And industrial revolution in Europe has changed my country, has changed Iraq, has changed Turkey and Afghanistan. Now the American soldiers are in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and we don't know why. But if you read my new book, you get a helicopter view or a bird's view on Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. It is a novel, but I'm talking about the love, about sex, about women, about men, but the background is England, Russia, Afghanistan, Iran, Ayatollahs, and you see, actually I show you the roots of the happening now. It is a great novel. I have to say it to make it possible.
Do you have a title yet?
Yes, the title, The King.
Koning.
The King, the Koning. And I was busy with that book. I got how can I say it? A big organization in Netherlands asked me to write a book, a novel, smaller one. It's very important. I have to do that. It's very important. Because in Netherlands, people read books, but somehow they make a book and and they publish it in maybe 1 million copies. And they give it, and everybody read it. Nobody read it, but they give it to them. They asked me to do that. And this is a short now. And I started, before I came to Netherlands, I was busy with it, to America. And the soul of America, I didn't know, has changed my book. This is one great book. Maybe my best novel ever. I have to say it to make it possible. Okay?
When you arrived at the Netherlands, was it a legal arrival? Did you have to apply for refugee status or do anything out of the ordinary in order to obtain paperwork to stay in the country and to work and live there for the rest of your life?
You mean as a passport or
Stuff like that, yeah.
No, as a refugee, you have no legal paper. You have no passport. You have passport. This is a fake one. But you have, you have to start a new life, a new paper, a new passport, a new world. But it is difficult. It is very difficult, but it's possible. I have done it. And beside me, after me, there came 1 million immigrants more inside Netherlands. And we are busy to change the Netherlands. Unfortunately, we are not able to make the country bigger than it is, but we can make it more beautiful than it was. The last question? Okay, go ahead.
In the heart of the mosque, you have some poetry, and much of the poetry is first did in Persian, and then there's a Dutch translation. When you write poetry, are you in a Persian frame of mind, or can you think it in Dutch when you write poetry?
Poetry is the only the poetry keeps me together. Only the poetry is the only literature text where I can find myself. If I'm busy with the Persian poetry, and then I'm again 100% Persian man, and because of that, I'm not able to translate it. I do it later, but I try to make a new Dutch version of it, to give the soul of the poem to my Dutch book. Yeah, poetry is in a new language. You can be a novelist. You can be a great novelist, but you can't be a great poet. It's not possible. I thank you.
Okay.